Welcome everyone to this Ask Me Anything live. So first of all, I'm very excited. So my name is Henry Krexed, and if you are here, it means that you're connected for this Ask Me Anything. We had a civil Ask Me Anything series covering different topics since a couple of almost once per month. And today, if you are connected, we're going to talk about the App Engine. Everything thinkable is now possible. Awesome. So if you're connected, don't forget, just mention where you're connected from. So from my end, I'm connected from France, south of France, close to Marseille. For those who is a fan of Olympique de Marseille, just you can mention that as a comment if you really need it. But as usual, I will do this Ask Me a Thing not alone because I'm not an expert on that specific topic. So I need expertise. I need friends from Dynatrace. So first of all, I would like to welcome Rob Jan. So he has been, if you family to him, he's been connected to several of our Ask Me Things. So hi, Rob. How are you?
Hey, Henrik, how are you? It's great to see you again. Yeah, here from Boston, Massachusetts, and America. So yeah, definitely folks from around the world. We know we get a global audience. So yeah, let us know where you're from. Hopefully, you're not lamenting with me as the Boston Celtics lost in the rounds of the playoffs, but we're here to talk about exciting things instead. So it's okay. It's all good.
And we have another good friend of ours, Brian Chandler, who is connected from Florida. Yes.
Hey, how's it going? That's right. I'm in Florida, the hot swamp. I got my AC right behind me, so the things will be cranking all summer here. Anything thinkable is now possible. Man, I'm on board. I'm on board, Henrik. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and especially the App Engine. That seems quite a fancy title.
That's right.
So, for those who didn't join us on the previous Ask Me Anything, just remind you, we had a cadence since Perform. So, Perform, we had a lot of amazing announcements that we did, and especially with the new platform that we announced that covers new features and new capabilities in our new solution. So we started a couple of months back, presenting the overall platform, and then we covered each topics one by one. So the analytics, the notebooks, the dashboards, the automation engine, and now today we're covering the App Engine. And as you noticed, every Ask Me Things is a following session, follow up session on an observatory clinic that our good friend Andreas Grabner has delivered. And if you didn't pay attention, this Ask Me a Thing is this related to the session that were planned almost a week ago. It's the practitioner guide to App Engine. So if you had the chance to watch it, did you great homework. That's perfect. If you did not watch it, I would recommend to check it out. It's available on YouTube. So we will probably drop the link if you want to watch it later on. But it's a lot of great content that you will see. I'm very excited of this new capabilities for sure. And when we prepared that Ask Me a Thing, we looked in our eyes and say, oh shit, we need to code. How I need to bring some experts. I'm not so confident anymore. I need someone who has the expertise to do that. And that's why for this specific observatory clinic, we have lots of guests. So I'd like to welcome them to this session. So first, if you paid attention to the previous observatory clinic, there was an amazing product manager, Stefan Wassenbauer. So hi, Stefan, how are you?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you. Hello from Linz.
And we will also have another colleagues of ours who also build an application using the App Engine framework. It's Bobby Volger, so it's a solution engineer. Hi, Bobby.
Hey, morning. Hello from Denver.
Denver. Oh,
Yeah,
I was
there
there
we go.
last week.
Blue skies, sunny.
It was kind of stormy, sunny, rainy.
Oh, bad week.
All right, so I think people are waiting for us to talk about the App Engine. So, Rob, or do you want to show us and explain briefly what is the App Engine all about?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, as you can see, I have everyone's name up there. You're definitely welcome to take a picture, connect with us as well. But the App Engine is central to the new Dynatrace platform. So we have a press release that was announced in February. We talked about this at our Perform conference, and it's really leading into a whole series of capabilities. And Henrik mentioned this set of series, starting with what was announced at Perform, getting into the Dynatrace query language, which was announced that sits on top of Grail, our new data lakehouse, and then opening up automation as well as building apps. And so today we're talking about that specific topic. So, but this is sort of a laundry list that if you watched our other series, we've kind of drilled into each of these topics. So today's topic is really about apps and the App Engine. And so we need a cast of characters on the call because it's core to our platform now. So if you look at this diagram, the Dynatrace platform has in the guts of it a number of technologies. One on the bottom left, when you see Grail, that's our new data lakehouse technology that allows us to ingest large volumes of data, put observability data in context. And part of that, we want to then automate and drive answers from that. We have our AI engine, which you might know about, which is Davis, which gets to a causation engine. But we also want to build applications, both apps that Dynatrace builds and also ones that connect into your third-party systems that you may be using. So things like a Jira, things like a ServiceNow, things like your CI/CD tools. But also in your corporate network, you may have a lot of on-premise applications that you want to integrate with. So Dynatrace is building core technology, but what we want to do is build you the framework to allow you to extend that for your specific use cases, and do that in a platform hosted way. So we'll get into, so we definitely want your architectural questions, your coding questions as we get into it, because we have product management on the call, and we also have like support specialists on the call, to help you about how to get started. But typically the way people get started, it's a journey, right? So what Dynatrace is giving you out of the box is a lot of analytic capabilities, views into your observability data with a lot of pre-built screens. And then you extend that with dashboards and queries. And part of the new feature of our queries and notebooks is to be able to actually write TypeScript code inside of it to bring in external data, perform additional logic. So right just within dashboards and notebooks, there's ability to customize and extend it with code. And that same code is then used in our other capabilities, which is our automation. So our automation is a new feature also with Dynatrace, where we can build these low code kind of functions of gluing together logic, triggered from different events in the system, triggered from your different tooling. And one of those steps can be a code step. So you could write the same code that we're going to demonstrate today inside of our workflow actions. And then we can build custom apps. So we're going to demo some apps that Dynatrace build. And then the second half of our webinar today is showing you how you can build those apps. So we really see typically this journey starting from starting at your own pace with the out of the box stuff, and then adding on to your apps. I don't know if Brian, if you want to add anything to this, because
yeah, just to double tap on this here. So I mean, as you know, like if you're a Dynatrace customer today, there's a whole lot of value you get right out of the box. You drop in Dynatrace, and we're going to give you prescriptive observability capabilities, right? Showing root cause analysis of problems that we see in your software systems, allowing you to build custom dashboards and notebooks and things like that. But we really want to allow customers and our users to open up all the possibilities, kind of what Henrik was saying earlier. So we're moving into the low code, no code space where you can build complex workflows to act on all this data that you're collecting with Dynatrace, which we went through in our last AMAs. But today we're really showing you the powerful tool set that you have to really open up all that data you're collecting with us to really use it for any use case you need down the line. So just think of that as kind of like a kind of crawl, walk, run scenario there. We're just giving you this powerful tool to extend Dynatrace to really whatever you need to.
Right.
And also, I think it's very exciting because any partner of Dynatrace, I mean, Rob, you're talking to a lot of partners. and that is very exciting. So every partners can now not only just do a simple integrations with dashboards, they can technically build an app within Dynatrace and provide more insights for our users. So that is just great. Rob, do you have any partners that in mind that has started the journey to build any apps in Dynatrace?
Yeah, we've got a couple actually. So at our Perform conference, there's a partner of ours called Akamas, who is an optimization platform. So you're integrating in the data collected from Dynatrace into some tuning models that spits out a recommendation, like for Kubernetes configuration, for example. So there's a purpose-built app that they built that integrates with their platform to kind of build an experience around that use case. So that's an exciting one there. And then we also have more, and I think Brian's going to demo some of them. So some of those we have partner built applications, but then we also have Dynatrace built applications that integrate into third-party tools. So we have, so I think Brian's going to showcase some of those as well in a minute.
So before we start demoing anything, there is a lot of questions that has been already coming in here, and specifically about the fact that we rely on this no storage engine, what we call Grail. And there is a lot of people who are not necessarily customers already and who wants to take advantage. So is Grail available, and can currently any user start a trial utilizing Notebook, every feature that we just described? Is this available as of now to the public?
Yeah, so if you get in contact with your account team, to get you set up right away, we're pretty much getting close to having all current customers rolled out with all the new capabilities. Over the last month or so, we've been kind of doing this kind of rollout scenario. Trials may not be there today, so we're focusing on our actual like current paying customers right now. But if you want to get your hands on the features anyway as a trial, we could totally do that for you. Just get in contact with your account team once you start a trial, and we'd be happy to flip that switch for you and get your hands on it right away. Right. But it'll be there available very soon.
Yeah, we've been rolling it out. So I mean, so the Grail technology was announced for logs and events back in November of last fall. So being able to have a Grail-enabled environment has been GA for several months now. And then we went GA with the new, the updated user experience, which is based on this AppEngine. So both, we'll talk about this. So Dynatrace itself is updating the screens that are native to Dynatrace within the AppEngine itself. So that is now GA, and as Brian said, so to go to the free trial site, that is being updated. I think it's targeted for another month or so to be live, but you can certainly sign up for a trial. And as Brian said, at request that you just are updated to the new experience. But it is GA. It's just that the trial, when you click on it, is not automatically spinning up a next gen environment. But it is GA, all this stuff that we're showing. And maybe just to kind of we're gonna get to the demos, but just to kind of talk about that kind of user journey. So built into the product are two apps that are new, are notebooks and dashboards. So this is a new visualization of a way to look at your data. And then notebooks are concepts maybe similar to Juniper Network, where it's intended for collaboration. And the data that you retrieve through the analysis is stored with the actual notebook object itself. So you can save and archive and have historical records of the data and analysis in a notebook, where a dashboard is intended a little bit more real time and like a dashboard looking at things. But you can also prototype inside of both of those components functions that are built in the TypeScript and the SDKs that are the basis of custom applications. So when we build a custom app, it's really for addressing a specific need that you want to leverage across the team and have all of the capabilities around security, governance, building an app, that's versioned with full lifecycle support. And that's what we're going to get into the second half. So think about, the main message here is that, the same technology that we're showing is the basis of everything in the new Dynatrace updated environment, the next gen environment. And the same language and techniques and the AppEngine is the basis of pervasive throughout the platform itself. So just to go quickly through some use cases of the app, it's typically, might be, and this is what we're going to demo later, is to write some code that interacts with your custom data sources and performs custom logic. So this can be retrieved through endpoints, through the Edge Connect, which is a component I showed earlier, where you can access, resources inside of your environment, because the Dynatrace environment now is SaaS only. So the SaaS needs to now bridge internally, and that's where the Edge Connect allows you to bridge from SaaS into third parties as well as your own internal systems. And then there's, oh, sorry, go ahead. You want to?
I think you were describing, I guess, a slide, I guess, because so when you were talking, the Edge Connect and everything, I think we didn't see it yet on the screen. So maybe
That's
John.
this one here, yeah. So maybe that.
Yeah. Well, that was perfect, because you were describing something, but I guess the attendees didn't
Yeah,
have
I'm
the chance
sorry.
to
Yeah.
see
So
it.
if I refer back to the architecture, maybe this architecture slide. So if you look on this corporate network Edge Connect, that's what I mean. So when you're going from a SaaS Dynatrace platform where the AppEngine and where your apps are being run, it may need to communicate into a custom built application and in-house, or maybe you're hosting Jira on-prem, for example, and you need to have code interact with that. You'll have to basically kind of proxy in through this Edge Connect component.
So it's can we almost say that it's a sort of ActiveGate, or the new generation of the ActiveGate, or that would be dangerous to say that?
Maybe let's throw that one over to Stefan, and the product team. How would you? It's great. So yeah, we get it from the real expert.
So to ingest the data, basically, from the functional side, we provide the SDKs that you have the ingest available. To set it similar to ActiveGates, they're still available. So basically, to draw the one-by-one comparison.
Yeah, it's a bit different component.
Yeah. So a lot of the architecture, I think we're going to get it. We have some slides that talk a bit about that, but just at a high level, the idea is that there's use cases where you need to communicate with your own custom sites, with your own custom logic. You're not waiting now for Dynatrace to build it. You can have it built either through a system integrator partner. Dynatrace can actually, through the services, can build these things, as well as the idea is that, if you have the resources in-house on your team, you can also build these things themselves. And the idea, like the crawl, walk, run, there's different levels of sophistication. So just interacting with data is kind of like level one, but then to be able to visualize it and use our visualization framework will allow you to build, anything you want, essentially, right? So now you will have a lot of built-in things for, graphing and charting and tables, and also UI components. But then this can be extended to kind of build your own interactions as an interactive app. And then as kind of tied into the data now with Grail, we can merge in the data collected from observability and security side with other types of data to combine for, as you can see here, like doing cost analysis, for example.
Yeah, and the way I've been kind of explaining this to customers too is it's when you think of it, you say, oh, you can build an app now, and that can be sort of a little too nebulous and not really, what am I going to be able to use it for anything now? So these are like top use cases that you can at least start to think about, and start getting your mind wrapped around the amount of possibilities, right? So like John, you said, it's like you could be a customer that would ask for an integration for some third party software or partner where, in the past, or any product for that matter in the software space, you'd have to wait for the product team at your vendor to come along and develop that for you. We're giving you the keys to the kingdom here. We're giving you the ability to build out any of these custom integrations and use cases that you can think of. And these are probably, these are the top use cases that we're seeing our customers start talking about today. Like, hey, I want to integrate with technology XYZ and manipulate the data and visualize it in a very specific way, right? I got a customer who's a cruise line. They want to be able to put a cross section of a cruise ship up on their app there. Well, okay, any software company isn't going to build a special cruise ship visualization, right? Because not every company is a cruise ship company, but that would be a perfect use case to build a custom app for in that case, right? Yeah, if you want a cruise ship visualization, go for it. Here's the keys.
Right.
So
exactly. Yeah, and maybe that's a good segue, Brian, to maybe show them a couple. So we're
Yeah.
going to stop sharing and let you take over, and again let them see what the what is available today and possible today.
Yes. So just to answer to Orlando's point, because Orlando mentioned, so you mentioned about use the Jira as an integration to create cases for issues or deep, or I mean, connect with Dynatrace. So the idea is, it was just an example. Again, you can, depending on events that happens from the observability data that we have in Dynatrace, you can maybe think of, oh, I want to create a ticket here, I want to update the ticket, I want to do things. So it's up to you. Again, the previous Ask Me thing, we were talking about the automation with the workflow. You can think of doing that through the workflow engine, but the app also is a solution for that as well. So we talked so much about this, and since we start talking, I said, I want to see things. I want to see things. So Brian,
Absolutely.
please
show the
us.
people stuff. Yeah,
Let's see things.
that's good. So yeah, and so here you can see my screen here now, and we're basically in the new Dynatrace experience. Like I said, most customers are starting to see this now. To get the new Dynatrace experience, it's simply just a button that'll show up in the UI one day, and you can click on it and pop right into it, and you can start utilizing it. Right. So that's what we're looking at here. So I have an environment here, and the first thing that I like to kind of communicate to my customers is that think of the new Dynatrace experience and all the different kind of screens and use cases that you're using is everything is an app, right? Even down to, we did AMAs around dashboards and notebooks previously, right? Dashboards and notebooks are an app just like any other app that you might build custom, for example, right? So I have a dashboard here with tons of visualizations that I might want to customize and build out to interact with all that rich observability data that we have in Grail. And it's there, it's built, and that app is built and maintained by Dynatrace. It always will be. And there's lots of apps that are like that. Notebooks is an app as well. Now, beyond those kind of just core observability prescriptive use cases there, sorry, I actually just realized I was sharing the wrong screen. Give me one moment. Sorry, guys. There we go. You can have all sorts of different utilizations of visualizations out there for your different use cases that you have, and Dynatrace is going to maintain those, and we're always going to have those kind of prescriptive screens that you might need to use for your observability use cases. Now, there will be lots of other types of use cases that you might run into that are out there. So let's say Salesforce is a very popular application, that enterprise application that customers use. And I'm going to reshare my other screen. Sorry, everyone. Love doing this live demos. That's the danger of it. We have a Salesforce app that our team has created, right? And we're going to maintain this. This is a first-class citizen app that our customers will be able to take advantage of, and we're going to develop it and maintain it. And why would you want to go to an app? Well, it goes to those kind of outside use cases. Maybe there's some custom buttons and navigations that you want to build into the app itself that are outside of sort of the base launcher capability. So in this case, what we have are, in a way to investigate a particular user in an environment, right? And this is a functionality that we built into this application that you could too, based on what you're trying to analyze this data for, right? There could be visualizations that we don't have out of the box in the dashboards app. So for example, maybe this world view visualization that you have here, you might need to put that in as a custom visualization that we might not have in the dashboards app that's there. We have a couple others. We have BizFlow. This is another app that Dynatrace will maintain and develop for all our customers. It's out there now. This is if you want to build out a certain business flow and understand from a business perspective how those important business processes are going, and not necessarily like just showing a visualization of observability data, but more from an analytical business standpoint. Another really popular app that we've built out for our customers to use is the Carbon Impact app. And this is a great example of marrying internal observability data that you are collecting and marrying that with external third-party data. So in this case, this app, what it's doing is it's reaching out to one of our carbon partners that are actually pulling in all the carbon usage data of all the different models that we're monitoring today in our environment. And this app is going to suggest, which instances, in this case, which cloud instances you should spin down, scale out, maybe scale down, or shut off entirely, and to save kind of on your carbon footprint. And that's a great example of marrying external data to all the observability data that you're collecting today. Right. We also have the Site Reliability Guardian. This is another app that we're building here. And this is all about being able to automatically validate the health of your different services and applications that you have out in monitoring in your environment. Right. So these are apps that, go ahead.
Yeah, there was a question, and I just want to bring up, because you're showing different apps, and there was someone from the attendees saying that with the new UI, it's amazing, but probably the transitioning between our previous experience with the second generation of Dynatrace and this new platform could be quite tricky. But Brian, tell me if I'm wrong. I think there is apps for every single screen that we have in the current second edition that is already deployed out of the box in the new platform. Is it correct?
Yeah. So you're talking about the older screens and how that kind of comes into play here, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, all that is still there. So it's an important point to bring up. So when you move over to the new Dynatrace experience, we want to make sure that this isn't like a shocking experience for all our users, right? We want to make sure that this feels like an upgrade. And then if you want to continue using all of those old screens from the previous Dynatrace experience, you absolutely can. And you're right, Henrik, they're just basically apps, so to speak, right? So if you want to go to the old services page, for example, there's an app for that. And basically you'll still be able to navigate to the old services page if you need to still look at that. Same thing for the classic dashboards, right? So if you have some dashboards that you built in the old experience, you can absolutely do that. It's an app that you can just search for, and you'll see that in there, for example, right? And you can pull that right up. It's Dashboards Classic. And then, yes, as we go along here, our teams are going to upgrade these experiences to in the new Dynatrace Strato design framework, right? So it's going to be very seamless. We're not ripping away all your old screens. They're still there. So yeah, hopefully that answers that question.
But it gives us an opportunity. I mean, why we're doing it too is because new user experience capabilities are available, right? So and we're also learning. So like Henrik, you work a lot with Kubernetes, for example. So Kubernetes has evolved and changed, and I think we've learned a lot around the differences between a platform operations team and how they want to see information versus I'm the app team, and I'm really focusing on, say, the distributed traces and putting things in context with OpenTelemetry. So we're learning as we get feedback. So I think the intention of the screens is both the technology refresh, but also to really make more purpose-built, more meaningful and powerful user interfaces around the use cases that you guys use out there.
So Brian, you showed us a couple of different applications and the Site Guardians and the carbon footprint and others. But what is the journey to build an app? That is probably all of us connected have that question in mind, because this Salesforce apps is very beautiful, but how can I build it by myself?
Yeah.
I think that's where Stefan comes in, and you tell me I can share this little graphic for you, Stefan, and then you just direct me to say next. But go for it.
May I share the screen, please, Dan? Or go on this graphic. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, yeah.
So basically, yeah, what we with the new Dynatrace, we envisioned here completely new developer experience, and the first place to really increase scalability and speed up development internally and provide this for the apps externally. So to say, as just mentioned here, the app shell, notebooks, these are all apps built internally with the same building blocks we have in here. And so building the app, as you see, we have various tools in place. So be it in the one case, this Dynatrace app toolkit, I want to show a bit later on then. We really have a CLI tool where you easily can create an app or have the boilerplate in place, have a local development server, so for easy and fast development. I can show later on a bit. Here we go with platform services. So you will see we have the Dynatrace SDK in place, targeting all the platform services you may know already, and lots of new ones when it comes to app states, documents, and so on and so forth, and the straight to design system. So basically, it's really a completely rework of our design system, really having focus on accessibility, on visualizations. So this is a huge improvement in there, what we achieved here. And yeah, maybe I can share the screen. So where you start this experience, basically, as you can see here, this is our Dynatrace developer. So basically, this is our big source of all this development-related information here. As you will see, here we have introduction, getting started, sample apps. But basically, I would just need to start, for example, create your app. And this is the first script on my command line I would use to create the first app. For this case, I just log in. As soon as I'm logged in, I have, for example, already some context provided from my environment. You can see the script adapts already. So if I want to create an app for this environment, just open up a terminal quickly here and workspaces for that one.
Hey, John, or Stefan, can you make that just a little bigger, your terminal?
Bigger?
Yeah, a little bigger. That's good. That's better. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So
there you go.
Okay, now it runs in the background. So basically, this is the toolkit now already starting to create this app in the background. Let's have a look in. Okay, enter your app. So this is let's have a name for this one, AMA Live app. And let's say, okay, I want to use my favorite package manager. And now it starts installing dependencies. While it's doing that in the background, let's have a look in the Dynatrace developer. So basically here, we provide the information. Let's say, what are Dynatrace apps for to have understanding of the whole concept. Providing some getting started from quick start, really where you have the jump start in a few minutes, as you show here, or really have step-by-step tutorials where you can go through and really already build your first app with React and TypeScript and understand the concepts we have in there, be it from how to create the UI, how to create the serverless function, how to use these components, basically. Further down here, a super set of sample apps where we can already cover a few use cases. And I will touch this a bit later on, where we can see you can immediately fork one of these apps and start developing and tweak them, for example.
Yeah, so this is great. These are actually apps that, any customer can come to this site, developer.dynatrace.com, download them, take the code and use them. So we're going to not only, give you this capability to build out these apps, but we're giving you sample apps to work with, right? And be able to play around and deploy this in your own environment.
Yeah, and for example, to continue with the development, so to say, so in the background now, it created for me the first app. Let's say I want to have CD AMA Live, and there it says, okay, code insiders, open this in my IDE, and this is where what we create for you up front with an example app, basically. There you see, if you know React, for example, we have created here a few components on page, and let's open the terminal, and there I start npx dt app dev. What I do here now is for React development, if you're familiar with that one, you already know that one. So basically, we are starting here a development server locally, and all the local changes are in the context of my environment, as you can see in the URL up here. Meaning this app now, as you can see here, this is not a sample app running from my local machine, but in the context of this tenant. So let's say explore data. It runs the data, and this is data from this environment. So this is key for development when you imagine creating visualizations and so on and so forth, and you have to work on mock data. Here you have the chance to work on the real data immediately. and to say, okay, we have here the header. Let's change something in here in the pages, the home page, column Dynatrace logo. Welcome to our Dynatrace app. Welcome to our AMA session. So as I hit save, it automatically reloads. Let's go back. And you can see immediately the change in there. So basically, that's the idea to quickly development in the team on these apps. And basically, yeah, as shown here, this is working with the first template to get started with that one. What you find more on here, so from this template and where to continue. So basically, there we describe the concepts, how to develop. There are interesting points here. Okay, accessing external APIs, for example, ingesting data, how to use queries from Grail, how to use app functions, concepts of cross-app navigation. So imagine that you can call from your app another app and pass over, for example, a DQL query, because you identified a query in your app and want to visualize it then, for example, on a dashboard or on a notebook. Integration with workflows and lots of other stuff comparing for app development. Then what's new here? Let's close this one. UI and design. So now we have a real big section on how to design your Dynatrace apps, basically. So really, there's lots of our knowledge and guidelines in there, how to create really classy and high quality apps, be it how the app structure, for example, how to structure apps, have a detailed description, where we really can support developers to get quickly really very high level results. Be it on navigation, layouts, loading, saving states, and so on and so forth. So this is the single source where you just go to and learn the material you need to build really shiny apps. Going further in the reference part, as you already seen here, the Dynatrace app toolkit, as I mentioned before and used in here. So basically, that's the CLI toolkit we use to, on the one hand, start local development. On the other hand, really to deploy to your environment. So I can immediately say NTX DT deploy, as you've seen here, and I can push this to my environment and share with my colleagues and, for example, on dev stage and continue the development on that one. And further, other life cycles or functionality during app development you find in the command reference configuration. As you've seen for the UI components, so there were already a few questions. So the new apps should replace step by step the old UI. We have here with the components preview, they will find now really a rich set of UI components with all the examples. So going into how to have a button with lots of use cases. So basically how to use a button, and you will find there a sample code. You can copy this code, copy over to your app. As you've seen before, hit save and you have the button in there. So basically really speed up development, and we provide out of the box all these components. So have a look at the charts, for example, to really speed up their development.
Stefan, there was it's a great, because we have just a question about the structure design components. That was a few minutes ago asked. So what % of structure design system is completed? Will there be any additional data visualizations planned?
Yeah. So there are lots of plans to improve there, basically. So this is the current set as we build the apps, but there's ongoing progress. So there will be lots more charts, lots more visualizations, and continuous effort on the UI components too. So
and one important thing is because we rely on React, it means if there is any UI component available in React, I can also use it technically.
Yeah, so that's a good point. For example, if you cannot find, you have some custom visualization, a cruise ship, for example, or in my case, I just close this one. For example, I want to build another app. So I created here an app basically, which integrates an external component. Maybe you know React Flow. So basically, that's an external third-party library. Just app dev, just start that one. which visualizes graphs, for example, or dependencies. In this case, for this app, I created you see a data table. That's a Dynatrace component where I fill in a list of services. And on click of the service, I fetch the entity relations of the service and visualize the graph.
It's exactly the use case I'm trying to design. So that brings my interest. Show me.
Here you can see, so basically that's all the services you find here on my environment. And as soon as I click here on details, I can say, and this visualization here on the right side is basically a third-party library. This is the React Flow library, for example. So you can integrate it easily, other visualization with the design system, basically. All the other stuff you see in here is, again, our design system, basically.
Awesome. And there was another same person asked another question. So it says, is there a plan to open source Figma components and additional assets like custom font? There was a blog that was released recently. Is this going to be open source, or are we going to hold those components from a Dynatrace perspective?
You can use all these components out of the box, basically. So these are public NPM packages, basically. So they are freely accessible. To open source it for contributions, currently there are no contributions on that one, but basically you can freely use it. So be it on the font side and everything you find here in the guidelines really to support you.
And last, there's a Martin Kulov asked a question about what is the skills set required to build an app. So I guess first of all you need to have somehow some React experience, because if you're not being used to React, it could be quite a difficult onboarding process. Or is there any other skills required?
Yeah, it depends. So when it comes, what do you want to achieve with your app? Basically, here I'm already talking about a rich UI. This is React, built with React, which makes pretty much sense in this context. When it comes to function development, for example, in here, I created a serverless function, a Dynatrace function, which fetches the data, the service, for example, from my environment. This is plain TypeScript. Yeah, you should be familiar with TypeScript, basically. This is the basis, so to say. And on top of that, for UI development, then React.
Yeah, one thing I want to mention too is that what Stefan was showing with the Dynatrace developer page, this right here, along with the tutorial app or that basic app. I don't have a great experience in developer backgrounds like some other folks do, but those two things, this developer portal and then also that basic app, I was able to use that as my framework to then create my own simple app and then sort of take it from there. So take it from me, I'm not a developer, but using these two things, I was able to accomplish the use case for my simple app that I created with me and my team.
Yeah, I mean, I used this morning. I played around it, and it took me less than an hour to get some panel with some single views utilizing the API of Dynatrace and DQL. It's quite I would say that we did the R&D and did a fantastic job on the documentation. So a big applause to the team, because I think the documentation is just fantastic for sure.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the combination. So as you see here, for sure we should give you hints and direction to learn React. What's the style guide on TypeScript? But the idea is always also to provide some templates on sample apps where you can start tweaking. So basically you have immediately some feedback and see the value, and then you have more motivation, so to say, to learn the gaps in between. But basically, yeah, this is already a bit more specific. This has now the full flexibility. This comes down with React, so to say.
I have a very basic question. So I didn't type it. So I'm sorry, guys. I'm asking my question without typing them in the chat. I'm taking advantage of my role here. So I have the answer, but it's just for everyone listening here. If I want to use DQL, because we mentioned we can run DQL, or we can interact with our API. In a traditional, if I in the second generation, if I did an integration, I need to build my web layer. So it's not a serverless. There's more components to build, and then we had to generate a token and store it and so on. So how do we manage this token experience in this particular AppEngine?
Yeah, good question. So basically, to get access to your data from environment, now you do not have to do all this authentication because it's running already on the platform. For this, we have the SDK for TypeScript, for example, where we will find lots of these services. For example, you'll find also this classic environment services in there, document service, storage query service, so to DQL queries. It's exactly the example up here, where I can import from the SDK the client query package. We have the query execution client, and where I can do the query and fetch the data. That's all, because it's run on the platform. Basically, all the authentication is done for you because it's already in this surrounding.
That is fantastic. It's even remove a lot of the token. You have to change them quite often to be secure. So that is fantastic. That's great.
Yeah, yeah.
So Bobby, you mentioned that you have built your own app. So maybe it will be also because Stefan is the most skilled and he knows lots about it. But it will be very interesting to share your experience, Bobby. So because you mentioned you built your own app. So could you maybe show us what you've done and what was your actual experience for that?
Yeah, and I think Stefan's going to be grading you, right? Is that going to be the case here? Make sure that everything's done on the up and up here.
Oh, you're muted,
Uh-oh.
I think, Bobby. He seems that that's the now you can see that it's live because Bobby is. We have a technical issue with from Bobby and side, so that happens for sure.
Can you hear me now, or?
So
Yeah.
there is a great comment from Mustafa Hassan. Said, "Great! I just asked ChatGPT to create a sample app." So that is surprising. So I will be very interesting to see if it works. So Mustafa, do you have something generated properly from ChatGPT?
For sure, we gave it a try. For sure. But the fact that ChatGPT, the base knowledge of ChatGPT is not up to date currently, results in you get. I try to create an app showing me a list of problems, fetching it from the API, and on each row I want to have a button. When I click on it, I want to have the details. And surprisingly, it worked pretty well to generate the code. But in the details, then it's really like, still it took me, let's say, an hour to have a rough prototype running. But as said, the state of the knowledge, ChatGPT knowledge, is outdated by now.
Yeah, but at least you had the structure. So you didn't have to build most of the structure of your project.
It gave me a rough outline and an idea how to start with, let's say, starting from a template. But the experience to say, okay, it now really builds me an app. Yeah, it's still a bit challenging.
I'll have John post it, but we did talk about some of the sample apps that are on the developer portal, but also the source code is out on the Dynatrace GitHub repo. So you can, if you went to that page that John will share, you can actually see kind of what gets generated and kind of see what happens there. And that's the idea, is that you're going to build your code, store it in your own repos, manage it as a versioned application. So when you deploy the app, and maybe that's when you guys can demo that, but when you want to go into like the app manage tab and kind of just show them how that looks in the UI in some of the versions. Is that just to show that this really is like a first-class citizen? Both the code is built by us to build all the new screens and also custom apps, but also when you build an app and you deploy it, it's actually inside of the Dynatrace platform with access controls, etc.
All right. I think Bobby is actually he's good to go now. It looks like he's back with us, Bobby.
Okay, so your app is running. All right, so maybe when
good.
There you go, Bobby.
So this is very similar to the application that Stefan was showing earlier. This is pretty much that same app, but I just tweaked it for my own use case. This use case would be you input some type of user ID or user email, and then we're going to have some DQL or some queries be fired off, taking in that user email. Now, sort of similar to the developer portal that Stefan was also showing, like a button. How do I add in a button to my app? Well, I'm not a React expert. I'm not a TypeScript expert, but by going to that documentation, I was able to just say, oh, here is a field object that I can put into my code, and here's a button object that I can put into my code. So now just with those two sort of combinations, that's going to take me to this query results. So then also these query results were from that example app. So I just tweaked the DQL. I just added a input field. I added a button. And then now all of a sudden I have exactly what I wanted for my smaller use case right here. So this only took maybe, I don't know, a few hours getting used to how to navigate and sort of how to use the code, how to use Visual Studio Code. I've been using that a long time too. But just from those tutorials and then thinking of a simple use case, I was able to get this, uploaded into my Dynatrace environment.
So I think that what's so cool about this is that just think going back to any other, software that you might use or buy, in the past, right? If you had this simple use case, I want a form, I want to put in an email and bring back the information about that email. Well, that experience to you as a customer would be, okay, well, let me go on the forums to go maybe get my feature request upvoted, and then maybe it'll get put in the roadmap, and then maybe a year later, they'll make a screen for it. But you just said, hey, I got the keys to the kingdom here. I got the app framework in my hands. I'm just going to make my use case that I want to use here. So that's just kind of speaks to, how powerful that is for our customers, going forward. It's really awesome.
There was a small question that someone mentioned about testing a couple of hours ago, and I think, like you just said, Brian, I think it's just a matter of thinking of the use case. So in the case of Dynatrace helping users to do testing, you can think about add a button. That button will trigger your tests, and then a few minutes later, once the test is finished, you can imagine to have all the assets coming back to Dynatrace because you ingest the data back in Dynatrace. So then you can run DQL and get the results, and you can be creative. Basically, it's now Dynatrace become like almost art. You can design your most beautiful painting with the help of that AppEngine. I don't know if maybe I'm too far here. I don't know. So there's another question. There's another question about licensing from Eric James. So what is the licensing model for these new features? AppEngine, automation engine, workflow, and others. Because this is maybe people will probably will expect that maybe each of those features are licensed. So what is the actual licensing for that? And does anyone has the answer?
So the short answer, to put it most simply, it's a consumption-based licensing model. We have a great blog out there that you can read up on how exactly that is consumed. We'll post that for you in the chat. And really, the whole philosophy behind it is to tie your usage to the value you're getting out of the product, or tie the license consumption to the value you're getting out of the product, right? So we're not going to charge you up front for all that, for stuff that you don't use. We want to make sure the stuff that you use in the platform, that's what you get charged for. And so it ties the value you're trying to extract from the platform to what you're actually paying. And that's the spirit of the model. And it's all broken down in that blog that we'll put in the chat for you.
Awesome. Perfect. I think we have 5 minutes left before we end this Q&A. So if you have any questions, I just remind you have 5 minutes left. So don't forget to drop your questions. And if we did not have the time to answer to your questions, we will get back to you shortly after this Ask Me Anything. So we have another questions. So we have similar cases for, so I think it's related to the test example that we made, I think. So we can run. So here you can think of, Mustafa, you can think about your use case, and then think of that we have the data, or we can query the data from an external API, for example, or ingest the data through the code perspective. So there is lots of possible. So which the title, everything thinkable is now possible. That's great. That's a great title for that Ask Me Anything.
To add a story to this, we had internally innovation days where we said to teams, please start developing apps. And it was amazing which ideas sparked. So it's really an innovation driver to see what people came up with. So amazing.
Right. I just want to maybe show real quick, Henrik. I know I got a minute left. Maybe John, you want to flip my screen on, but wanted to show that this same language. I know we mentioned it earlier in the call. So what I'm showing you on the page now is the workflow. So in Dynatrace, we have a workflow app, and one of the things that you can do is construct a series of tasks together. Like I want to run DQL, like I want to just hit an individual URL, but I can also do something to say, I want to build custom logic using JavaScript. And so what you see here, this same library of SDKs, right, is the same libraries that you use to build an app. So this is pervasive throughout the application. So you could prototype and do simple sets of logic to integrate with different data, call functionality. We have pre-built steps for things like, Slack now. So one of them is a pre-built action for Slack, but here, imagine this was some other tool, so I could, through code, be interacting, construct my payload, call stuff all through code. So there's really, capabilities, both within the workflows and also in notebooks. So when we have notebooks, which is another app in Dynatrace, you can have a pre-built step like add code right in my notebooks now. So if I wanted to retrieve data from some external tool, do some custom logic, that is the same kind of building block for building apps. So this is just want to give you a little visualization of that too. So
and just to add, of course, you won't be able to take advantage of the Strato design layers. It's mainly all the PCs that help you to run queries or run an API calls. You will be able to achieve that with the notebooks and the workflow engine that you just presented. So we have 1 minute left. I just want to promote before we close up this Ask Me Anything, I want to promote the next observability clinic about this series. And in fact, I will be the presenter. So I need to promote it, guys. I'm sorry about that. So it's about open observability without boundaries. So basically, if you don't have any agent, you want to ingest with FunBit, OpenTelemetry, whatever, and you get the data back in the platform. And then we will walk through on how we can utilize notebooks, dashboards, everything that we just presented, but now with data coming from external solution, not collected by one agent.
Right.
So don't forget to register. So the date is on the 16th of June. So keep posted. We will, of course, promote it in the next coming weeks on the LinkedIn and other social media. So it will be great to have you live, because it will be a live clinic. So with more people connected is always better, and we have more fun. All right. So I think, first of all, I would like to thank Stefan. You did an awesome demonstration. You showed us everything. It was very clear for everyone. I think I enjoyed it. I hope that everyone enjoyed it as well. Thanks, Bobby, for also showing the experience and how you build your applications and the use case of adjusting DQLs based on a form. That is a really great example. And as usual, I would like to thank Rob and Brian, who presented everything, because I didn't do much. I was sitting on my chair and just taking questions and asking questions. So I like to talk. So I had the chance to talk and just listen. So that was great. All right. So if you enjoyed the show on YouTube, this will be available now in a few seconds. So we have the recording, so you can still watch if you didn't have the time to watch it. So thanks for being connected here and taking the hour and spending the time with us. And see you soon for another Ask Me Anything. All right. Enjoy your end of the day or your afternoon, and see you soon. See you.